Welcome back to another episode of Money Majlis, your fortnightly deep dive into the movers and shakers of the financial and tech world. I'm your host, Suvo Sarkar. This episode today is special. My guest is someone I've had the pleasure and privilege of knowing for more than a decade, both as a former colleague and as a trailblazer in the MENA banking landscape. Today we're diving into a topic that's got the UAE buzzing, indeed the region, Fintech's next wave, and AI's magic touch on everyday money. We'll talk to the person behind some of these initiatives, Dr. Tariq bin Hendi. But first, a message from my sponsors.
Money Majlis is proudly supported by Now, the premier crypto-as-a-service provider, now building in partnership with the top financial institutions in the Middle East. Discover more at aquanow.com.
Money Majlis is brought to you by E&, a global technology group.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Intellect Design Arena, driving digital adoption in banking and insurance.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Live Digital Bank, powered by Emirates NBD. Trust and innovation combined.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Network International, the leading digital payments technology company in the Middle East and Africa.
My guest, Dr. Tariq bin Hendi, embodies the intersection of finance, technology, and the transformative leadership in the UAE and beyond. His career journey spans powerhouse institutions and dynamic sectors, from guiding wealth management strategy at Emirates NBD, where we worked together for many years, to steering investment and innovation as Director General of the Abu Dhabi Investment Office, or RDO, to leading G42's rapid ascent in AI, to now serving as Vice Chairman and CEO of Astra Tech, the parent company of Botim. Tariq's education is as international as his professional footprint. He has a doctorate from the Imperial College London, MBAs from both Columbia and London Business Schools, and has performed executive roles in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, London, and New York. His hands-on approach at Emirates NBD shaped the bank's wealth management and asset management offerings, setting benchmarks in digital adoption and customer experience. At RDO, he catalyzed foreign direct investment and pioneered public-private partnerships, championing tech, agri-tech, and fintech ecosystems that now define the region's innovation agenda. Today at Astra Tech, Tariq's mission is to unify communication and financial services for over 150 million Botim users worldwide, driving accessibility and everyday simplicity. The latest relaunch of Botim marks its pivot from pure VoIP to a fintech-first AI-powered platform, a move aligning with the UAE's ambition of a cashless economy by 2026, underpinned by the central bank policy reforms and the Dubai cashless strategy. With new capabilities such as Botim Money for personal and business use, micro-lending, instant cross-border payments, and gold investments all within one app, Botim is positioning itself to be more than a super app. It's becoming a daily necessity for millions. As a board member in advisory roles spanning G42, Edelman Middle East, and Gulf Capital, Tariq exemplifies purposeful innovation, mentorship, and a commitment to the region's sustainable growth. His story is one of ambition, adaptability, and visionary leadership, a blueprint for future generations in finance and tech. Tariq, welcome to Money Majlis. It's such a pleasure to host you here. I mean, we spent countless hours as colleagues strategizing for the wealth business of Emirates NBD. And fast forward to today, I mean, where are we? We are sitting together in a podcast studio as host and guest.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
No, I mean, again, thank you very much, Suvo, for having me on the on your show. I think what's interesting for me, and maybe slightly awkward to a certain extent, is I'm very used to, still answering the phone and calling you boss, right?
Please don't say that today, okay?
I'm also very used to, being the one to talk about everything that you've accomplished here in the region. And I think you set so many benchmarks for what others are aspiring and striving for today. So it's an absolute privileged to be with you today.
Thank you so much. Let me start by asking you, Tariq, how has been the transition for you been from banking to public service and then now to technology? What is different and what is the same?
So it's actually been an interesting journey for me because let me add one more component to that, my education, right? My PhD really focused a lot around the labor force, on wages and so on. So I think about the exposure that I received in the banking ecosystem, understanding what it is that the markets are ready for and, well, what people are looking for. Looking at government policy through my public sector involvement, and then working very closely on the AI technology space with G42, as well as being an investor on a venture capital side.
Yeah.
And so bringing it all together has been quite fascinating in that the needs of people don't really differ based on your economic status. Yes, obviously the offering has to be different. But what I found very fascinating is that an individual with $1 million or an individual with $1,000 really need the same thing, right? They need to be able to move their money. They need to be able to see where their money is, and they need to be able to grow their money, right? And so it's been fascinating for me to see that, but also to be involved with a lot of the change and to almost be an advisor to the regulators, to work hand in hand with them. And so there's a lot that I can say around that question. I suppose the biggest difference for me is that now I'm in an operating role and I'm actually delivering product to the masses. Whereas previously when we looked at wealth and we looked at other things, it was very specific.
Right.
This is mass exposure today, and we're looking at how it is that we can solve problems for many different people across the economic spectrum.
And to that extent, it's more challenging, you would say?
So I would say it's more challenging in that there's a lot more feedback, right? And feedback is always welcome. And I suppose it depends on how you perceive that feedback. I've seen many founders of companies react negatively to feedback because they're so obsessed with the idea, right, of what they're trying to accomplish. And the way I view this is that, you can have a great idea, but without the right feedback, without that loop essentially that you require, you're really going to be building something for yourself rather than the group. And, Bezos said something really interesting recently at a conference that he was at, where he said, having a lot of ideas is the fastest way to kill a business, right? And I think that it's the same with feedback. You've got to take the feedback, and this is where AI is helping us significantly, is how do you consolidate that feedback and deliver the core solutions for problems that folks are facing, and then also try to do the things that people need, right, versus want, right? And I think that balance is quite interesting.
And I guess with Botim, the issue with feedback is I would imagine 90% of UAE residents are Botim customers. So everybody has feedback for you, right?
They do. I mean, lots of people have feedback. You had feedback for me as well recently. And I think it's valuable to me because we can test the product, right? You can have blinders on to a certain extent, right, around a product because you're so busy developing it. You're sitting in your office. You're kind of writing it out on the board. But I think once you actually get out and you go into everything from the labor camps to the shopping malls to, different institutions and understand what their requirements are, a lot of them struggle with very similar issues, right? And I think this is where that focus back towards what do people need versus what do they, what's a nice to have versus a need to have. And I think we're solving for the need to have, but designing it in a way where people it's frictionless, right? So it's a nice way to cater to the needs that you have, essentially.
Tariq, you relaunched your Botim Money app recently, and congratulations on that. What were the biggest shifts technologically and culturally in transforming Botim from VoIP to a super app for financial services?
So if I may take a step back for a moment, right? And I think this is important in terms of context, right? Botim, PayBuy, and Quantix, which were the three businesses that sit under Astra, were all built at different points in time. Botim has been around for the better part of a decade at this point. Quantix and PayBuy were founded at different points over the last 5 years.
Right.
And what we were doing was looking at how we could incubate, right, different products and test them. Using Botim as obviously this incredible acquisition channel for the consumer base that we would look to cater to, right? And so what we've found in that process is, one, the technology needed to be revamped significantly, right? So what we've done is we've rebuilt Botim from the ground up being AI native. So that means our agents, the way that you engage with the app, the Botim AI option, a lot of it revolves around how friendly is that usability to a consumer on the app? And then we took PayBuy and Quantix. PayBuy being essentially the wallet, all the payment mechanisms, and then Quantix, the lending arm, and see how can you make this seamless? How can you cross-sell essentially, right? Because really there's a significant financial inclusion aspect to what we do. And I think this is the important bit. When we looked at our data and we saw, wow, we have 91% of the UAE population on our app that are eligible to use the app. And you look at the international community that they have reached to, right? Typically for every one user we have on the app, we have 4 to 6 users in their home country. That's one component. The other component is that those individuals based in the UAE generally are the breadwinners for their families.
Correct.
Right? And so there's a significant financial evolution that they're looking to undergo, right? Nobody really wants to move to a country, work for 5 years and go back to the same state that they were in, right?
Correct.
And so we've been using that information, incubating products, testing them out. And over the course of, essentially 18 months, and now we're going big on these products, we've deployed over $2 billion of balance sheet. Wow. We're running $1 billion plus dirhams per month in remittances. And these are seamless, simple transactions to conduct, right? And we have a lot of other products. Where the challenge has been, right? So again, before I go into that, we've rebranded everything to Botim to unify the message. It's very simple.
Correct.
Where the challenge has been is typically on the financial literacy component. Different users have different behaviors, right? I can almost tell you by nationality who's going to remit money and within 5 minutes email me asking if the money has reached. They don't even check with the counterpart, right?
Correct.
And then I can also tell you based on language skills, who is it that's engaging with our app that's actually struggling to understand what to do. And it's a struggle they have across apps because generally it's English based. So we've been using AI now to be able to cater to that user base that doesn't speak English, is not financially literate. So how do we educate them, bring them up the curve, right? And
sorry, on that point, but you have Botim in other languages as well?
So today you can go into Botim and you'll be able to put it in English, Arabic, Hindi. The AI component will help you with that. So if you go into the Botim AI search tab, you can do it multi-language and it'll educate. Yes, it'll give you that. And the Botim AI bit is actually significant for us. Something that we have not disclosed previously, but I'll share on this podcast is that the back end to our AI is ChatGPT.
Really?
And so everyone using our app today, right, is getting access for free to ChatGPT on the platform. Now, it's a significant technological shift for us. And so we're constantly evolving and improving. And as people start to update the apps, they'll start to see the functionality change. But that's significant for the entire user base here in the UAE and really globally that uses the app.
Interesting. Now, tell me, you have millions of users globally and almost 10 million in the UAE. Since your update, how has the usage evolved? Have you seen a jump in usage?
We've seen a jump in everything, actually. And so what we did, because we rebuilt the app, and really any user that had been on the platform for any time at all had seen that the updates were really not transformational. Right? So what we did was, once we updated that, and another update is coming over the next few weeks, right, that will also significantly improve the app. But what we've seen is the VoIP quality has improved. We've seen that the call quality has improved. But what we've seen is as soon as you improve those aspects, what we're known for, people's curiosity to then click on other tabs and understand the services that we have has also increased. So what has happened now is users are spending twice as long on the app on the calling side. They're spending 3 times as long on the app exploring the financial services side.
Right.
And our conversion rate of people using the app for VoIP to people using Fintech is almost 300% up in terms of that shift over.
That's a big
It's a very significant number. Now, one thing that we are currently in the process of looking at, how can we offer all of our services in all of the significant countries that our UAE population user base are communicating with, right? And so as we expand our country exposure, that will start to improve the two-way relationship between the countries. So rather than remit one way, you can do it both ways, right? And that's the next goal for us in terms of
So
growth.
I guess remittance and payments is obvious choice there, right? Because you tie both the ends.
They are.
And eventually I would imagine things like gifting and flowers and stuff like that, right?
So, the gifting and flowers, what we've tried to do is, I think previously people had a view of Botim as being everything. We did everything, but we didn't really do any of it as well as we should. And what we've done now is we've said, okay, let's be the super app of financial services and bolt on to that. So where we don't want to own it, we have a mini app program on our platform. So the fifth tab at the bottom, when you click on that, those are third-party institutions. You can build on our platform, and that's the way that we've rebuilt Botim. You can build on our platform, or we can host you and just redirect into your ecosystem. So what we find interesting today, if you think about video gaming, or adding credit to your Apple account, right? You can do that through our app if we host your gaming platform in the app, or we redirect out of the platform. So we're able to then use our payment ecosystem to then channel those funds into people's accounts.
So do you have open APIs then for developers?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So eventually it'll evolve into something bigger than what it is today.
It is. And look, I think we have a responsibility. I mean, you mentioned earlier, Suvo, right? The exposure that I've had into various parts of the economy in the UAE.
Yeah.
I think we take it as a responsibility as Botim to be the platform that allows others to be able to come in and test the product, right? And I think as long as it fits within the remit of financial inclusion, the literacy side, the financial services component, we're happy to work with third parties and explore what we can do together with them.
Now, since the relaunch, you said you had multiple functionalities on the app, right? Which feature are you seeing the maximum uptake on? What is the most popular feature?
Two things, the remittance and the lending. Those two are significant because I think a lot of users, so actually let me share this with your audience, right? If you break down my user base into white collar and blue collar, right? Under the traditional definition based on income, right? The majority of blue collar workers in the UAE are either underbanked or unbanked entirely. And that's a significant portion of the UAE, right? It's 6 million plus people. Here earn less than 15,000 dirhams a month. Now, if you take that and you say, okay, what services can I create that allows people to do a couple things? One, generate wealth faster. But also be able to have access to the financial ecosystem in ways that they hadn't previously. We've solved for now with our wallet. Our wallet system on Botim is, it provides every user with a virtual IBAN. So today, you can do wallet to wallet, wallet to bank, bank to wallet. And we take a lot of pride in that because this is the first time many of those users get access to a bank account. It's the first time many of them are actually able to see a transaction history, right? They can see a thread of what they've done, what they've paid for that transaction. Today, we are the cheapest in the market as it relates to remittances, right? Which now poses an existential situation, not just for us, but for the incumbents in the ecosystem. Because I'm digital first, because I have access to the entire population, essentially, given this moat that I have around VoIP, right? I am not there to displace the incumbents. I'm actually there to figure out how we can work with the incumbents, right? And grow together. And I think that's a significant opportunity that many view in the market as, oh, these are competition. I'm like, no, I'm not competition. Yes, we're competing on certain things, but I'm happy to collaborate with you and we grow twice as large together. And I think this has been an interesting aspect of what we're trying to accomplish now as a business, right? Versus what are the users benefiting from? And by the way, Suvo, it is significant, the volumes that flow through our platform off the back of the wallet ecosystem that we provide, this gold product now, the investment product that we've provided, but also the lending component. People can build a credit history for themselves. We take that information and we report it back to the credit bureau because in the spirit of open banking and the future state of the UAE and what my shareholders are ultimately trying to accomplish, right? The more knowledge the ecosystem has on individuals, the more likely those individuals are to graduate into a wider financial ecosystem that provides and caters for them.
Correct.
Right?
Just going back to the remittances point, Tariq. Are you building your own pipes, which is country to country, or are you depending on third party, like Swift or third party providers? How are you building this?
Depends on the country.
Okay.
So we do have some of our own pipes into certain countries. We have decided that it's actually much more interesting to partner. Now, what we find, so if I think about my largest corridors, right, India, Pakistan, the Philippines, Egypt, Bangladesh, and so on. There are players in those markets already where we can contribute to their growth and they can help us, because also what we're trying to do is bring more people out of the gray market remittance, the hawala market,
Correct.
into a digital first ecosystem. So we're starting to work with a lot of East and West African countries. So this is G to G to B, G to G to B to C almost, right? In terms of how can we resolve and help them with some of the issues that they face in terms of their large native base that are based internationally that are not accessing the financial ecosystem. But in India, we have a partnership. In Pakistan, we have a partnership. Into Europe and other markets where there's dollar accessibility, it's much simpler to go direct and build your own pipe. So it really depends on the market. Again, we're not trying to displace the players in the market. We want to work with them and help drive volume through their ecosystems.
So on the build or buy decision for every product, you are defaulting to buy or to build?
So I'll actually add a third. So it's build, buy, or borrow.
Borrow, okay.
The borrow gives me a lot of information around whether I should build or then buy. So my goal today, so we've built a lot of technology already.
Okay.
I mean, we have impressive technology. I have a 200 plus tech team.
Wow, okay.
Right? And so we've built incredible technology. But as we look to scale, if I spend that much time building versus testing, I'm going to miss a few opportunities. And so we want to borrow. And what that means is, to the point I was making about the mini app program, but even channels that we can access. If we can see that something works with a particular player in those markets, then that becomes either an acquisition opportunity or we can then build the technology ourselves, right? And so I think this is where it depends on the country, depends on the size. We bring a few things that, and I'm lucky because of my shareholder base, but we bring a few things that a lot of really good companies internationally, especially in the developing world, don't necessarily have access to. We have an incredible tech stack. We've got balance sheet.
Yeah.
I've got access. I've got license, right? I've got a lot of pieces that if I only use for myself and utilize for myself, I'm missing an opportunity to really scale at speed and also to help other platforms grow as well, right? Ultimately, we're all in the ecosystem together, right? I think we need to work with each other.
I could argue that compared to any other financial services app or even a consumer app, you probably have the highest penetration in the UAE base. You're sitting on a gold mine, really.
I do. And I mean, it's a fact at this point, right? I mean, it's not debatable because that was not the case. So utilization is key for me, right? I have the highest penetration on a user base other than obviously the telcos, right? But even then, you've got two significant telcos, whereas historically there was only one VoIP. There's been another VoIP introduced recently, right? Chimera is a competitor, and they're doing some very interesting things as well. But I think there's so much room for growth here, Suvo. Even if you look at the banking sector, the real penetration and the product development and so on, it's not as high as it should be, and it's definitely not as high as it is in other markets, right? So if I look at that whole group of people that have essentially been left behind, because operationally it's too taxing for large incumbent players to cater to them. Two, the dollar per head is very low, right? In terms of, if I speak purely on a deposit basis, right? But at scale, on an accumulative basis, I have 3.5 million KYC'd customers. These are individuals that have gone into our wallet, KYC'd through UAE Pass. We've verified all their information and are now immediately in the financial ecosystem here. They have the bank account through the wallet system, that virtual IBAN. They can remit, and that's the biggest contributor today for them in the financial ecosystem. Now, if I can convert a lot of those individuals remitting to borrowing in the UAE and actually expanding their economic situation, I've not only accomplished something in terms of keeping dollars in the UAE, right? But I'm helping them grow and hopefully through the right education, teach them how to build their history and not default. Because defaulting is a natural occurrence here in that segment. Right?
But tell me, given that both Etisalat and Do have also launched their own wallets, and now Kareem is going aggressive with their wallet. Is there space in the market for so many wallets?
I think that, look, it's a great question. And I think at some point, like with any technology, lots of players will come into the market. Everybody will have their different cost structures, essentially, that they have to manage. And then you'll see a consolidation. And I believe that a consolidation at some point will be very healthy. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, Suvo, you'll remember there were 70 plus banking licenses in the UAE.
Correct.
And we consolidated down to 40 something. Now there's 350 plus fintechs in the UAE.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And more coming into the market on a weekly basis. You know, Revolut CEOs moved here, so on and so forth. So I do think that you'll see a consolidation. But what I find interesting is that, and I demonstrate this in my own behavior when I look at the apps on my phone.
Yeah.
I can have an app like Kareem. I will really only use it for transportation. I don't use it for anything else.
Correct.
I don't use it for groceries. And then I've got others. And I'm not here to like plug other platforms, right? But if you look at what InstaShop does, if you look at what Deliveroo does, and I'm so used to using that app for that service that the switching cost for me is just not worth the headache or the missed delivery or the missed service, right? And so I think that users have a familiarity that they become accustomed to with a particular service. And getting them to switch over sometimes can be very challenging, which is why Uber maintained the Uber brand and the Kareem brand here,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And I think familiarity, service, and you have to be obsessed with that customer service, right, is going to be key to who ultimately ends up winning or being part of the dominant consolidation component in the market.
But if I take that argument further, Tariq, isn't it then counterintuitive to have a super app? I mean, super apps have been successful in China, to some extent in India as well, with Paytm and stuff, but largely not very successful in the US or Europe or the Middle East.
Agreed.
So you are the first big super app in this country.
Yep.
What makes you confident that you'll win?
I'm not confident in the super app proposition, which is why we're actually getting rid of a lot of the services off the platform that were related to or perceived to be non-core to us. And so what you're going to see from Botim is this obsession around financial services.
Okay.
That is literally what we're going to focus on. So can I be an orchestrator? Am I a payment gateway? Should I be working with the players in the ecosystem, right? As I scale, I'm going to have to make different decisions in different markets. But in the UAE, we're moving away from offering cleaning services and a few other things that were on the app. And we're solely going to focus on how is it we can build people's credit history, their knowledge in the financial ecosystem, and give them access to the financial ecosystem that they didn't previously have.
And you have a linkage to AECB and all of that, right?
All of it. We were the first to fully integrate with UAE Pass. It's a pretty seamless experience. And I think, the biggest struggle for us previously was, one, the app wasn't up to new app standards, right? It was very complex to navigate. It's very simple today, and we're making it even simpler as we continue to develop the platform. But what we had to do was eliminate any friction across that thinking process for an individual to executing a trade on the platform. And I think we've done that really well. I mean, you can KYC yourself. Generally, 95% of people, when they go in and KYC on the platform, you get an approval within 2 minutes.
Okay.
If you want to remit, I mean, I can remit to the EU and other markets today. It's under 3 minutes, wallet to bank. Even banking incumbents here can't guarantee you those service levels, right?
Yeah.
And it's not every market, but it's most markets today that we can provide that type of service. And where we don't, we clearly state it. But I still go back to the education aspect. So I think this is a big issue. I send my teams out. I have been to some of the labor camps where we go in and we raise awareness around how individuals can load up their wallets. If they're receiving cash, put it in the ATM and load it into the wallet, what they can then do. Today they can issue a card, a MasterCard directly from the Botim app into Samsung Pay, Google Pay, the Apple Pay options, or they can ask for a physical card. These are individuals that prior to this were completely disregarded, if I may use that word, right?
Yeah.
But when you think about the sheer quantum of those individuals, even if each individual is putting 1,000 dirhams into my wallet, and I'm looking at 6 million users, right, that I have access to, it's very significant.
But clearly financial education is a crying need of the region, apart from inclusion. Tell me, would your app also have educational features?
It is. So we are going to, in the next update, launch an AI-enabled education feature. It's something that we've not only committed to leadership in the country, but it's something that we believe is the right thing to do. And it will be multi-language. And AI will be the facilitator on this, right? So we will work with a lot of very serious content providers, and we'll develop that for the users. And we have to be cognizant of the fact as well that a lot of the individuals using any data here in the UAE generally cannot afford to pay for the constant top-ups on the data side.
Correct.
So we're working on a program now to see how it is that we can make sure that people using Botim have some sort of data leniency, and also the size of everything that they access to be as low as possible, but provide the highest level of impact.
Interesting. Tariq, your PhD thesis
Yes.
at Imperial College London on sustainable finance, right? Predicted ESG's rise way back, right?
Yeah.
How do you weave that ESG theme, if you do at all, into Botim?
Well, I'm a highly regulated platform, so the G part is definitely something that we have built and obsessed about as a business. But I think if I look at ESG and the social component to this, right? Look, I'm very lucky in that I have no physical stores.
Correct.
I don't have that footprint
Carbon
per
footprint,
se, right?
yeah.
And so and the less time I can get people to spend on the device, but to be able to accomplish the same thing that took them longer to do previously, the more beneficial that is to how many times they have to charge their device and so on and so forth. But I think really the core component for us is how do you bring, as I mentioned earlier, how do you bring more people into the ecosystem? How do you educate them enough to where when they go back home, right, they can use the same knowledge to grow and develop? I mean, we all have, I grew up with nannies that, were considered family.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And many of them moved back to either the Philippines or other places, after spending 5, 6, 7 years here, and then come back a year later, right? That for me is I don't want to say heart-wrenching, but it's very disappointing that people leave their families, they build for themselves, and then ultimately someone squanders that wealth away. So if you think about ESG and the actual, the basis for which, a lot of this is developed, how do you help the world, right? How do you help the people that are trying to do better for themselves? And how do you ensure that there's clear line of sight on every decision that's being made, and that it meets the expectations of regulators and government? Right?
Very well said. And since we talk about ESG, it's a good time to talk about the social impact mission of this podcast.
Yes.
All profits from Money Majlis, Tariq, go to charitable causes, both regionally and globally. And in every episode, my guest gets a Money Majlis gift card of $1,000 to contribute to one of the 6 charities featured on moneymajlis.com. Tariq, thank you for deciding to redeem your $1,000 gift voucher for the Orangutan Conservancy.
Yes.
One of my most favorite animals, so thank you for that. As a listener, you can also get your $50 gift card by simply visiting my website, moneymajlis.com, clicking on the charity of your choice, and the money gets transferred from me to your chosen charity. It's that simple. So I hope you'll join my giving movement. See you after this short commercial break.
The financial world is changing fast. Institutions need to meet the growing client demand for crypto financial services, but they need a battle-tested platform to build upon.
AquaNow is a leading crypto financial services platform, powering incumbent institutions to launch crypto brokerage, payments, and remittance services for their clients, securely and at scale.
Be part of the transformation. Visit aquanow.com today.
The end touches your life.
In more ways than you can imagine.
You want more tech,
More speed.
more convenience, more entertainment, more business solutions. EAN gives you all that and so much more. EAN. Go for more.
Parents teach their children to talk, to walk, to ride, to read. So why not teach them about managing their money? Introducing the all-new Live Light app, designed to teach 8 to 18-year-olds good money habits. A free and totally secure app designed for them that's always under your control. Top up their cards, set limits, assign tasks, and reward them with allowances. Download the LiveX app to open a Live Light account in minutes, and the first 50 dirham allowance is on us. Visit live.me today. Live Digital Bank by Emirates NBD. Trust and innovation combined. T's and C's apply.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Intellect Design Arena. Intellect drives digital adoption in banking and insurance. Leverage emac.ai, the most comprehensive, composable, and intelligent open finance platform for banking and insurance transformation. Intellect Design Arena.
The end touches your life.
In more ways than you can imagine.
You want more tech,
More speed.
more convenience, more entertainment, more business solutions. EAN gives you all that and so much more. EAN. Go for more.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Network International, the Middle East and Africa's digital payments champion. We make business happen and economies prosper by simplifying commerce and payments. Trusted by over 250 banks, fintechs and telcos, and 130,000 merchants in over 50 countries. Bringing you tomorrow's payment solutions today.
Welcome back. In Money Majlis today, we are talking to Dr. Tariq bin Hendi, Vice Chairman and CEO of Astra Tech. Tariq, Botim has announced plans to embed AI across the ecosystem. How do you envision AI-powered financial services transforming experiences for customers, not just in Botim, but generally across the financial sector in the next 5-10 years?
So look, there's a lot of let me start by saying there's a lot of fear around AI, and there's also a lot of hope around what AI will be able to do.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of fear around employment, right?
Correct.
But there's a lot of hope in terms of the efficiency gains, the ability to accomplish things much faster. Let me give you an example. If I think about us as an operating business, so let's park for a moment the discussion on a customer. I can do today using AI with data what it would have taken me days previously to do, I can do in minutes. And so I'm able to then look at behavior. I'm able to look at all these components that previously did not look like there was any relationship whatsoever. And I can marry those things together now and come up with everything from product to structure to the layout of my app, right? So from an operating standpoint, it's very interesting. What we've seen in terms of let me focus on the Botim AI component that users are starting to access now. We've seen a significant uptake, not just here, but globally on that AI option. And it's quite fascinating to see the link between individuals engaging with AI and them utilizing the app. So what we find is that a lot of the engagement on the AI side is around wanting to be educated on financial aspects. It's really interesting. So people are either searching what holidays they want to go on. They're searching for how does it they can make more money and where they can invest their money. And it's, for us, quite telling that the perception is that a lot of the diaspora, especially if I think about the blue-collar workers, cannot afford to access, this is the perception. They cannot afford to access AI in the way that you and I might be able to through subscription-based features. Providing them this access on the platform overnight, Suvo, right? And we did not announce this. I mean, one of the things Botim has not really done well, other than over the last few weeks, is promote ourselves.
But I like your new brand. It's
I
nice.
mean, we spent a lot of time and effort trying to make sure we get that right. We had a lot of customers, so we actually called customers in to the office and tested it with them. Right? So it was quite fascinating to get that. But back to the AI point, I think that from an infrastructure standpoint, and as well as from a team standpoint, if I look at my in-house team, today I can run all my customer service using AI agents. We are obviously very lucky to be part of the G42 ecosystem. And so we have access to a lot of infrastructure, to a lot of compute, to a lot of everything that's going on now in the UAE. We have a seat at the table in terms of either incubating that or being part of the narrative. And I think it's very fascinating for us to see how it's evolving so quickly. I think financial services, the less touch points you have with individuals, the more frictionless it becomes. And I think we saw this even in the traditional banking sector, right?
Correct.
Some, the younger generation does not want to go to a bank branch, right? So the more I can put online and the more I can engage with them using what they're familiar with, on the iPhone it's Siri, on other platforms it's other things. Once I incorporate that into Botim, and that's coming out in the next iteration of Botim, it will be very significant for the user base.
Having said that, Tariq, do you have a human call center as a backup?
We do.
You do?
Yes.
There are agents, human agents.
As soon as the problem gets too complicated or too nuanced, right? And that's because we're still testing this to perfect it. But today, if you get in touch with the Botim hotline, you won't actually know that you're not talking to a human.
Really?
Yeah. And so, and we are expanding that quite significantly going forward. And again, to get this right, you have to have a very strong customer service component. So today, email correspondence that comes through, it's AI that will read through that and then send a response back. We have not had that historically. We've introduced it recently because the sheer volume of users that we have, and again, based on certain people's behaviors, they'll ask questions before they even finish the transaction, right?
Right.
And so to reduce that volume or delay in response, we've got systems that help us, and it's all AI at this point.
You talked there about your connection to G42.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, what are the unique advantages you have as Astra Tech and Botim, given your G42 connection compared to your regional rivals?
Well, look, my regional rivals are also very lucky because they have some strong connections as well. But I mean, if I think about who I'm competing with on a particular product, I would say I definitely have a distinct advantage because of the reach that G42 has, but also the position that G42 now in, I would argue, beyond just this region, right? If you think about Milan to Malaysia almost, right? And you think about how the UAE is essentially exporting our economy to those countries through all the AI infrastructure that's being built, G42 is leading a lot of that, right? And so it may not be direct always, but the conversations that G42 have, for example, with OpenAI, with Microsoft, with some of these major players, I benefit from directly because then I get instant access to the decision makers at those institutions. What does that allow me to do? I can try new technology in the platform. I can make my own business more efficient. But ultimately, we can experiment in ways that others may not be able to do at the speed that G42 is designed to execute on, right? And so I'm very lucky in that. Also, Peng, as the founder, the CEO of G42, I have to say, is one of those unique individuals where when you spend time with them, even if you've just come off the back of a 3-day work bender and you've had like 6 hours of sleep every night, when you leave the conversation, you're like, yeah, I want to do more, right? And so having motivational people like that around you, either as a mentor or you have access to, has really been a key differentiator for me personally. I had that with you at Emirates MBD, have that with Peng at G42. It's been, I suppose, provides you with a level of energy that you otherwise would not have if you didn't have those types of brains around you.
Amazing. You talked there about Milan to Malaysia. What are your expansion plans internationally, if there are any, for Botim?
So we've already bought a license in the Philippines. We're looking at how it is that we can expand in the Philippines. We are very realistic about what it is that we're looking to accomplish. The Philippines, there are already significant players there. I could name them all. They're household names to the Filipino community here, BDO, Gcash, and others, right? So what we will look to do in markets like the Philippines is provide that balance sheet, provide the two-way relationship back into the UAE, and ultimately help individuals based in the UAE provide for their families back home and have visibility on where their money is going. This has been a big challenge for a lot of people based here when they send money back home.
You mean tracking the funds?
Tracking the funds, but also also being able to deliver it into purchases that they would otherwise be relying on an intermediary to make.
Correct.
So think about an individual here wanting to buy appliances for their home. If you can help facilitate that purchase of appliance in the Philippines directly and have a partner. So we have a partner then in the Philippines that would then deliver it to their home.
Right.
You solve for a major pain point for a lot of users.
Yeah.
And so Philippines is a natural market for us to explore. We're looking at Pakistan very significantly now because of the diaspora. India is always a key partner for us. We're trying to understand what we do in each one of those markets, but ultimately where we see a lot of opportunity across all the markets that we currently have a large population in the UAE remitting back to is lending. A lot of people want to borrow to grow faster.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing that growth internationally, and that's the next phase for us.
So Tariq, talk of lending. Your lending at the moment is more small ticket lending. Would you aspire to become bigger ticket and compete with the banks head on?
No.
No?
I think actually the way that we view ourselves is we're graduating people into the banking sector. And so if I think about And that's why I say, Suvo, if you look at an 8-hour flight from the UAE, just capturing Africa, Southeast Asia, you're talking about a 4 billion plus population.
Correct. Half the world. More than half the world.
Exactly. 4 billion plus. If I look at my right to play in some of those markets, right, just based off what the UAE has built, right, and it's a growing population here, we get more and more people here. Even if I cater to 5% of the 70% plus that are unbanked or underbanked, I don't need to worry about competition and they don't need to worry about me, right? And so that's the approach that we're taking, is that I have to obsess over my product and I have to obsess over the mission.
Right.
And the mission is to bring as many people into the financial ecosystem as possible.
And you talk about people only, Tariq, not SMEs, micro SMEs. I mean, is your target segment only individuals? Are you going to expand that to SMEs as well?
So we have historically started with people because I have the information on individuals. But at least in the UAE, those individuals are also the owners of all the businesses, right? So we've built all our merchant services around that, the payment infrastructure. I think for us now, as we look through the second phase of growth for Botim and essentially come out of the incubation phase on a lot of our products, is what do we do well versus what do others do well that we can piggyback off of, right? So for example, today, if you look at SME penetration, I would be starting essentially from scratch if I think about the sheer numbers. We have 3,000 plus merchants on our platform today.
Okay.
But I could go partner with another institution, for example, that doesn't have balance sheet, but has significant payment systems that they've tied up with merchants on. I can go partner with them, have them in my ecosystem.
I can think of Network International.
Exactly. Grow with them. Right? It doesn't matter if it's an NI or if it's a pay mob, right? It's irrelevant to me. I want to just be able to grow significantly with them. And actually looking at the platforms like MasterCard, who we've partnered with, they are a significant voice of reason and ambition as it relates to what the markets currently cater to versus where the opportunity sits. I do not want to go compete on essentially what will end up becoming a race to the bottom as it relates to pricing. It doesn't that doesn't move the needle for a platform.
So we are saying you're not getting into acquiring services in a hurry.
So we have acquiring. I think today what we're looking at, if I want to scale that product, do I build it myself or do I borrow someone else's infrastructure?
Got it.
Right?
Got it. Including QR-based payments?
Including QR-based payments. If you look at QR-based payments, even 2 years ago, there was no clear winner. Today, you have one very dominant player in the market today. And now they've started a membership program. They're figuring out the pricing model. We could very easily partner with them just off the back of the fact at some point, P2P and phone-to-phone payments will be the significant payment mechanism here. So outside of ANI, obviously the payment infrastructure that the government has built, and then you look at what can I do on broader P2P and broader wallet to wallet and phone to phone. We will be partnering with a lot of these platforms to grow.
But while all that is happening, Tariq, we still are in a country where cash is king. To a large extent, checks are still being used everywhere. What do you think we need to do as industry players or as regulator to make that shift into cashless society?
I think as industry players and regulators, we have to have a unified approach. I think whilst there is a narrative sometimes that comes out of the private sector that, we don't want to deal in cash, you'll still get someone that comes to your house, says, I'll do everything for you at home, just pay me in cash, so no VAT, for example.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
That's not the right behavior. And so as we move to this open banking ecosystem in the country, but also as we look at forcing people into the wallet ecosystem, think about salaries today that are paid to blue collar workers. Some companies were paying them in cash, or they'd go to an ATM and they'd have long lines of people waiting in an ATM just to withdraw cash. If I can tell them, listen, you don't need to withdraw cash to then go to an exchange house. It just feeds through J1, for example, straight into your wallet.
Correct.
You get a lot of people out of that cash ecosystem. And I think that, look, for me, I generally do not like using cash unless I am tipping someone because I don't know whether the tip that I include in the app goes to the user. Or if I'm in the car and, there's someone sweeping the road and you want to say thank you, right? And I think that in that way, cash will always, I think, have a place. unless that individual sweeping the road pulls out their phone and I can tap and give them 20 dirhams or 50 dirhams on the phone, that would be
That
ideal.
could happen soon, right? You could have a tipping app in Botim.
And we're working on a few things, Suvo, that I think you'll be pleasantly surprised
Okay.
with.
So,
yeah.
tell me, talking of which, I mean, is there a major innovation that you're working on that is the game changer that you can talk about?
Yeah, so without sounding overly altruistic, but also without sounding cliche, right? I think what's happened with the advent of mobile devices is that, and I see this frequently, you know, I like to observe my surroundings. If you're ever sitting at a restaurant and you notice a family of 4, a family of 5, no one talking to each other, they're all on their devices.
We've all been there.
It's, you know, so I think about that as it relates to everything from communication to the financial services side and beyond, right? We are looking at today, how is it that you can create, we have a lot of kids that use Botim, right? It's the preferred mode of communication that parents have picked for kids to video call each other, like when they're at home or they're gaming with one another, or whatever it might be. How can you help create a literate younger generation through parents contributing into a piggy bank or some form of, you know, payment system for them in the wallet that we've built? And then have either a physical card or the digital card that they have, depending on whether they get punished and can't use their phone, but they still have a physical card. And so we're working on how it is that we, back to your ESG point, but how we can bring together an ecosystem that allows families to work with each other, all of them to become more financially literate. I mean, you'll remember, Suvo, even in wealth management, you would have 25, 28-year-olds that would come in that would want to open an account, and you could not open an account for them because they weren't classified as an institutional investor.
Correct.
Right? Or they had no history.
Yeah.
So the parent would have to co-sign and effectively run that account for their kids. Imagine if I could start educating kids and they could see essentially a balance of where they're spending their money.
Yeah.
And the parent has line of sight, able to toggle that on and off in terms of what they... So we're working on some interesting things there as it relates to families, right? But also what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it so that every individual here, even if they're looking to save 5, 10, 15 dirhams a week, has a mechanism to earn off of that, right? So this is where I'm saying, you know, it's still a business. There's money to be made in that business, but you're giving people access to things that they didn't previously have.
What about mechanism to save?
So
I want to save every day, save every week.
Yep.
Yeah, in terms of inculcating a saving habit for children and for even adults, actually.
Exactly. So that is soon. After a few of these updates come out on the app, you will see a very interesting flywheel of what all your holdings are. So today, for example, if you want to borrow or you want to invest in gold, I recently tested the gold product on the platform.
Yeah.
And I bought some gold. And I'm able to see over the past 3 weeks kind of the growth and value of that, what my cost was. It's very clear. You can see the costing on there. And then if I want to sell it, or if I want to actually take custody of physical gold, right? The options that you are provided there. So that's the start. Like I said, we've been incubating this, testing it, because I'm not catering to the white collar. That's the banks. The banks will cater to them.
Yeah.
But I am catering to the white collar that have children and want to educate their kids, or the blue collar that want to do something better for themselves.
Interesting. I think that's going to be hugely beneficial for society here. Tariq, over the past 1 year, if you look back, or 18 months, what was the most difficult strategic decision you made at Astra Tech? And what convinced you to take it?
There's comfort in familiarity. And I think that, you know, we're in the business of people ultimately, Suvo, right?
Yeah.
And I think there are decisions that have to be made at a corporate level sometimes where, you know, you can spend time with an individual outside of work, but not necessarily be able to work with them in the workplace. And so restructuring the team has been a challenge, because naturally when people are familiar with an individual or a leader or so on, removing that leader or bringing in more people can throw people off.
Yeah.
So 2 things for me. One was create a culture of accountability, but also respect. Ensure that everybody knows that every office is accessible. There is no fiefdom building, right, at Botim and at Astra. And the third thing is giving people comfort around the fact that change, whilst painful, can also be good. And so that was difficult initially, because I was walking into an environment, fast-paced, high energy, but misguided at times with certain things, and we needed to make some changes around people. And I think people have seen the benefit. The rest of the team have seen the benefit over time of those changes. But the initial, so that's one bit. The other bit, I mean, if I'm joking, is that as soon as people see an Emirati come in, everybody starts worrying about their jobs, right? So for me, it was spending time with folks. I immediately, the first thing I did was have a big town hall and say, look, open book, ask me what you want to. And when I saw that they weren't, I started, volunteering information. And so if I look at, the past 13, 14 months that I've been at Astra, and you look at the first town hall that we had, 0 questions, to the last town hall that we had where we ran over time significantly because there were so many questions. I think you take the pain initially to build out the platform that you want to and really build that culture that you want in the business.
Since you talk about leadership, Tariq, tell me, what leadership traits do you believe have made you successful across, multiple industries in a stellar career? What has kept the fire burning?
Honesty, accountability.
Okay.
And I know these sound cliche, but I cannot tell you how many times I've shaken hands with somebody that's also stabbing me in the back at the same time, right? And so I think holding your hand up and saying, I made a mistake, here's how I'm going to remedy it, is important. But I think the third most important part is to move beyond talking to executing. And this is where I think so many advisors have done very well for themselves in terms of the story.
Yeah.
But, the old adage, no one gets fired faster than the individual trying to implement a story, right?
Yeah.
Where they don't have the points or the process. I think that's an important part in terms of leadership, is that you do what you say, right? And that you're honest about what you can and can't do. I've had these interactions before with leaders, like at our country level, right?
Yeah.
Where they're like, it's okay, hold your hand up. If you can't do it, we'll find someone else to do it. And that's why I always find the conversations to be very fruitful with leadership here, because, a lot of those meetings are had in English sometimes, right? And this is the joke, right? It's like, I've asked before, why do we have it in English? And I don't say this with any disrespect. Well, it's because it's yes or no in English. It's binary. There is no inshallah, right? If you throw out maybe, you do not look like you know what you're doing, right? So it's either a yes or it's let me tell you how I will get there, right?
Tariq, thinking back on your career, is there one lesson you wish you had learned earlier?
Yes. I've applied this more recently, but listen to understand, do not listen to respond.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Which is no wonder your answer is so thoughtful for the entire podcast today.
Yeah, thank you.
But final serious question, Tariq. And I'm sure a lot of youngsters look up to you. For the younger generation, looking at a career in fintech or banking or just a career, what advice do you have today?
The hours are long in the industry, whether it's financial services or the tech space, right? People are trying to build to disrupt or they're trying to build to expand. And so do not start your conversation with a potential employer on work-life balance, your pay package, and so on.
Yeah.
I suppose I would, not that those aren't important, but my advice is really understand what the individual that you're talking to is trying to accomplish. Ask questions.
Yeah.
It's okay if you don't have the answers in an interview. Just say, actually, I haven't thought about that before, but that's something I should reflect on. And so I mentor quite a few, and as an institution, we've embedded this now as something that we do. So if there are any young people out there, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I will respond and I will come back to you if you're looking to do an internship. We will incubate and house people that want to run internships. We had about a dozen people already through a transition period that we were going through. Now we're ready to absorb more people, come in, work on interesting projects, but put in the effort, because it might be tiring today, but you will definitely benefit in the long haul.
Excellent. Tariq, we've already geeked out on the big stuff, okay? Now let's lighten it up with some rapid fire questions, and old friend privileges apply, right?
Yeah.
So no holds barred.
Yeah.
No overthinking, and give me the first answer that comes to your mind, okay?
Okay.
That's the deal.
Okay.
Okay. What's the first app you check every morning?
My alarm.
Okay.
And after that, it's probably X.
Okay. And what's your favorite productivity hack for business CEOs?
Ooh. If you have time and the facility, swimming.
Mm-hmm.
I find that swimming gets you to focus.
Yep.
If you don't, but you have a space that you consider, meditation.
Okay, excellent. What's the most memorable deal or acquisition you've negotiated? I mean, you've done so many over the years.
Negotiating my contract with you when I joined DNBD.
Okay, the second most one. The second one then.
The second one was probably closing one of the last real estate transactions that happened in the U.S. During the financial crisis. It was actually the morning of Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers imploding.
Seriously?
We signed all the documents that morning. It was about 2 hours later. And the bankers called us and said, "Can we please unwind this?" And we're like, "No, too late." I think that was the last time you had a LIBOR plus single digit debt structure.
Really?
Yeah.
Your favorite Botim feature?
VoIP.
Oh, okay.
I get to see my
And
family.
the quality of that is going up
It is going up.
as we speak. Your favorite Emirati dish that pairs perfectly with closing a $1 billion deal?
Ooh. Probably majboos.
Oh, nice. That's mine too.
Yeah.
If you had to relocate Astra Tech to anywhere else in the world, which city would you pick?
I'd move within the UAE, so it just bounce between Abu Dhabi and Dubai and back and forth.
You're in Dubai
right?
and Abu Dhabi, right, at the moment?
Yeah,
Both
we're in
places.
both, right? I think that's a tough one because everybody's moving here now. So I think if you were looking at growth, I would probably look at somewhere in Southeast Asia.
Okay. Botim brings people together. What's the most unusual location from where a user has contacted you for help or your team?
Ooh. Canary Islands.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you say, I'd come help you there, let me fly down?
Yeah, I mean, that would have taken a long time to resolve, but it was something that we were able to fix.
Okay, one fun fact that people do not know about you.
Yeah. I collect Lego.
Okay, even I didn't know that.
I have over 700 Lego sets.
Really? And you have a museum for them?
I have a storage facility somewhere. Most of them are still boxed. And then I have a lot of them in my house. We've actually put shelves into the wall to house Lego sets.
Really?
In
So
one
one
room
day-
in the house only.
One day a Lego museum?
Perhaps. Or a significant sale of Lego sets that are no longer in production.
One word your team would use to describe you.
Reliable.
Excellent. Dr. Tariq bin Hendi, CEO and Vice Chairman of Astra Tech, it's been truly inspiring. Absolute pleasure to speak to you and to see how your journey from Emirates MVD to Audio to G42 and now Astra Tech continues to shape technology and to inspire people around the country and the region. Thank you for your insights,
Thank you.
the data you provided in your stories, and thank you for your contribution to the orangutans. Yeah, I love that.
Thank you, sir.
Tariq, any last comments or words of wisdom for our listeners?
Yeah, the last comment I'll have is please share feedback. We need as much feedback as possible to get this app to the state that users want it to be in, right? And we know that there are things that we can get better at, but feedback is always welcome.
Folks, grab the Botim app, dive into Astra's world and follow Tariq, as he said, on LinkedIn for advice, for help, for suggestions.
Money Majlis is proudly supported by Aqua Now, the premier crypto-as-a-service provider, now building in partnership with the top financial institutions in the Middle East. Discover more at aquanow.com.
Money Majlis is brought to you by E&, a global technology group.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Intellect Design Arena, driving digital adoption in banking and insurance.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Live Digital Bank, powered by Emirates NBD. Trust and innovation combined.
Money Majlis is brought to you by Network International, the leading digital payments technology company in the Middle East and Africa.
That's it for this edition of Money Majlis. This podcast is conceived and scripted by me, Suvo Sarkar, and produced by Sabine Achkar at Podster. My giving partner is Good World. Please visit my website moneymajlis.com to view all past episodes and to join my giving movement. Till next time, ma salama. Stay curious, stay well, and do good.